Hello and welcome to Take Time. I'm your host, Patrick Marlatt. Today we're here in Flushing Meadows, Corona Park, to meet up with Matt Graham of Aries Watch. It's a brand new company with a really interesting story.
I'm Matthew Graham. I own Aries Watch Company. We make hard-use tool watches, mission timers, out of Seattle, Washington.
I've been fascinated by watches my entire life. I still have the first watch I bought in middle school. It's the Citizen Aqualand diver that came in the plastic scuba tank. Still have the tank. Throughout my entire professional life, there are features, design aspects of watches that I like, but that I've always wanted to make. So in transitioning to Aries and in building a watch company to make hard-use mission timer tool watches, I now get to make the things I always wanted to have. I started Aries Watches because I wanted a company. I wanted to be able to drive the creation and manufacture of the watches that I needed. So I spent the last 12 years at the Central Intelligence Agency, and I wanted mission timers that fit the features that I needed, the environment that I needed for that. So Aries was started solely with the purpose to create the mission timers, hard use tool watch, dive watch that I needed and wanted.
Well, it's a combination of a couple of things. The first being I've had the design, so it's new to manufacture, but it's not new to design. I've had the concepts, had the ideas that I've journaled and drawn for years. The second is location. So just like real estate, location. I'm there in Seattle, and in North Seattle is one of the finest watchmaking schools in the country. So I have the watch ideas, I have the watch designs, I have the watch infrastructure and market, but I need professionals to make it. And so I walked into a room full of 20 professional watchmakers and said, I'm starting a watch company. This is what we believe in and what we're going to make. Who wants in? And that's where we are. The inspiration for the Diver 1 came from my operational background. The experiences that I had drove the design for the watch that I always wanted. So in creating Diver 1, I made it 41 millimeter, good size, 42 at the bezel. It's 12 and a half thick and 49 and a half overall with a 22 millimeter lug. So it's a great lug width for a strap, something that operationally you can adjust, whether you're putting your watch on gear, if you're putting it on your wrist, if you're lashing it to a piece of your kit. So really the inspiration, it's a direct result of what I really wanted. If you could make a watch to fit your needs, what would it be? And that's the Diver 1. So with Aries, when I started Aries, I didn't want to just make a watch. I wanted to build a watch company. So having designs in mind, having experience that's going to drive what we're going to make, and having watchmakers that are able to make anything. When you have design and you have watchmakers, so when you have the means and a capability to make something, you can make anything. So we're starting with Diver 1. We're going to launch a variation of Diver 1 next year at Fort Benning during the Best Ranger competition. Later on in the fall, we're going to come out with a field GMT line, and then we're going to move on from there. We're going to offer both quartz movements and get into the mechanical side. Well, my collection's varied over the years. It started when I was in middle school buying the Citizen Aqualand, and up until today, it's grown into dozens of watches and down at times into just a couple. But the one that I have now that I cherish probably as much as the one that I was able to design and make is a 1968 Rolex GMT, a long E dial original, purchased in Vietnam in 1968 by the godfather of American special operations, American gunfighting, Ken Hackathorn. And he wore that watch every single day until this past January when he gave it to me 50 years later. So, original owner, the box, the papers, the receipt, throughout the year
separate bands that he's had and things that he's done, and it's a great watch. It functions well. I had it tested again for water levels because I use my watches. There's not a watch that I don't use, so I don't have watches that I won't take in the water or I won't take into work, and this is one of those. So once I had it recertified for its depth rating, I wore it every day until I got the Diver 1. So the first prototype Diver 1 bumped a 50-year-old one-owner GMT, and so for my collection right now, those are the two watches that I'm going to stick with. The idea behind me with collecting and the idea behind me with just buying and what you keep is buy what you love. In the 30 years that I've been doing this, from my first watch as a kid to today, I want watches that I love. At some level, they speak to me. Hackathorn's 1968 GMT. It's a legendary man and his legendary watch. It's the story. Everything out here is about the story, regardless of the brand, regardless of the watch. It's not the watch. It's the watch and the story that you're collecting. It's the why behind it. And that's what I love about it. That's why I'm making watches. That's the passion for them, is each of us, regardless of if you can buy the most expensive watch or the least expensive watch, still have to live by the same seconds. It's the equalizer. And how is that equalizer manifested in that collection? What do you keep? What do you have? Hackathorn put together, when he sent me the watch, he typed, not on a computer and printed a letter. He typed on a typewriter a letter to me about the entire history of the watch. He included in the package little plastic bags with hand-typed notes of each piece. Hey Matt, this is a replacement band that I bought in the early 80s, probably 82 to 84, because my original band needed another part. And we folded that and put it into the sleeve. And it's a legacy piece. It's the legacy information. It's the time. And this is why we love watches, and I make watches, and we have watches. It's because time is legacy. What has my legacy been? What is it showing me my legacy is now? And where are we going with it? Where am I taking this watch? Where am I going to wear it? That man wore that thing for 50 years. I'm going to wear it for 50. And it's beautiful. It's just cool. Aries watches are for people that aren't scared to wear their watch in their life. So many times I hear people say, like, well, I'm not going to mow the lawn in my watch, or I got to take this off to go get in the shower. And Aries watches are for life. They're built for life. We guarantee them for life. From the day you buy it, for 20 years. If the watch breaks because of me, I'll give you a new one. If the watch breaks because of you, we have watchmakers to fix it. But we've dived this watch to depth. We've jumped this watch. We've surfed them and skied slopes with them and driven cars and done the impacts, and we've taken the watch to the edge of the envelope so you, in life, can trust it. You know it's been there. They're for pilots that fly jets low into airports, over parks, with people trying to talk about important things.
I think we actually got